I heard this story once about a man who lived deep in Schwarzwald in the south of Germany, who had been there for 391 years, who was a thief, a murderer, and caused the death of a king. And all that happened because he could stare death straight in the eye. As I was curious how much of the story was true, and it wasn't far from where I lived, I went to look for him, following what I had heard and asking directions, telling people what I knew. I actually found him, living in a small 2-room log cabin near the city of Freiburg. Warum bist du hier? Why are you here? He asked me when I knocked on his door. I'm a storyteller, I told him, and if I am right, then you are the man who has been alive for 391 years because you stared death in the eye. I came a long way to listen to your story, so I can tell it to others. Sie wollen mir doch nicht glauben. You wouldn't believe me, he said through the closed door, and I noticed a tinge of sadness in his voice. Well, I came all this way. The least I can do is listen. Sie sollen nicht zufrieden sein. You wouldn't like it. Well, as I came all this way, I wouldn't like it if you wouldn't tell me either. So just let me in. Let me hear your story. And then let me believe and think what I want. And can you speak English? As that would make it a lot easier for the audience, so I don't have to translate everything you say. That is fine, he said, and he let me in. The cabin was small and dusky and a little smelly. Just 2 small rooms he had clearly lived in for a long time. And as he pointed to the only chair in the room, a big wooden chair with green plush lining, he himself sat down on a small footstool, hardly big enough for a child. And then he looked at the corner of the room and said, "You stay there. I'm watching you." I looked, but I saw nothing, just a dark, empty corner where he had hung a coat. And the man saw me looking and he said, "You must think I am crazy. But I'm not. There, in that corner is death. And I am so old now that death just sits and waits there for me to die. But I can't. Not yet. Please, tell me your story." "When I was a boy," he said, "not much older than 10, I lived not far from here, in a then small town called Freiburg. Now, for people who don't know Freiburg, there once was a stone quarry not far out of town, and one day I climbed right to the top of the cliff from where the stone was cut, and I slipped, and I fell at least 100 foot down. But I was lucky, or so people keep telling me, as I only broke both my legs and one arm and my neck, but I didn't die. Fact was that I didn't dare to die. I was afraid of death, and that if it came, nobody would ever find me and know what had happened. And so I willed myself to stay alive. And it was then I saw it for the very first time. Death. It cowered in the shadows behind the rocks, peeking out, waiting for me to close my eyes. And I didn't. I just stared at it and said, "You stay away from me, Death. I am watching you." And it stayed away until I was found 3 days later. In all those days and nights, the long waning hours in which I ate nothing and drank nothing, it was just it and me staring at each other, and I never even blinked once. When I was found, people called it a miracle that I'd held on for so long, but all the while I kept my gaze fixed on death, even when they carried me away, as death followed. When I had healed a little, enough to speak, but still hadn't slept a wink, I told my mum, death is here, but I'm not letting it take me. That is good, my son, she said. Now, sleep a while. No, I can't. If I close my eyes, it will take me. And she shook her head as she didn't believe me. Of course. Who would believe such a strange story of a boy who fell to his death but lived by staring death in the face? And she called the doctor to come. The doctor did not check my arm, my legs, or my neck. He just checked my eyes and my head to see if I had gone insane. And he asked me, "What do you see?" And so I told him, "I see death," I said. "It's right there in the corner, waiting for me to close my eyes or look away, but I can't, I am so scared of it." And the doctor shook his head, talked to my mother for a while, and then he left. As I got better and death saw I would survive, it shrugged and left too. And now I could finally sleep. And I slept for 2 days and 3 nights without waking once. As I got better, my legs and my arm healed, I could slowly walk again. But the people of Freiburg had all heard my strange story, and none of them believed me, as they all shook their heads and walked away. But there was one, the mother of a girl who had been ill for such a long time. She came to me and begged me to take a look at her girl to see if she would die. And so I went. And when I came in, I saw her gaze staring at the wall. And I saw her death was waiting for her. I stepped in between them and told her death to go away and leave her alone, but she said, "No, please, you don't understand. I have been sick for so long that I have been waiting for death to come, but now that it's here, I want it to embrace me, but it won't come closer." "Well, that's because you're looking at it," I told her, and with a nod of understanding, she closed her eyes. But still, death would not take her, as it turned its hollow eyes to me. And so I left, closed the door behind me, and in that moment she breathed her last breath, and death took her away. Her mother did not understand and told everyone that I had killed her little girl, and I became an outcast. And so I left, just a teenager then, who had had the misfortune of seeing death for what it was, a coward hiding in the shadows. And I built myself this cabin, and I've lived here ever since.